So 12 years ago now, my brother passed away. And the way that he died was that he was murdered by someone still unknown to this day. But he was duct taped around his arms, over his eyes and over his mouth. Then he was left in a car which was set on fire. When help arrived, he already suffered tremendous burns all over his body. So they brought him to the hospital and they were able to reach out to those closest to him. And I was one of the people that were able to see him pretty soon after they got him to the hospital. I remember the first time seeing him just being in shock because I was just in disbelief that something could have happened like that. And the burns were so serious that I couldn't really recognize his face and who he was. So I was actually in denial about what had happened. And that day that I arrived at the hospital and got the news, they let us all know that were there that he would only last maybe 1 or 2 more days. And I say all this not so that you feel sorry for me or that I prove that I have some kind of hard life or for you to feel any type of pity, but it's for me to just share with you that if you've gone through something similar, if you've grieved a loss or suffered tremendous pain, I want you to know that there are people out there like me that understand your situation. I remember days after my brother's passing, people would say things like, you'll get over this, or just be strong. And often those comments were from people who had no experience with pain or grief or loss in the same way that I did. And I found it not really helpful at all. And actually I felt really annoyed and angry. Who are these people to say these things that they have no experience in, or they don't really understand what I'm going through? And I get it, they're just trying to be helpful, or they just want to say something to comfort. But really, silence would probably be more helpful than the words that they did say. I think we'd all been better off if people were just present, but they didn't have to say anything, they didn't have to give advice. Because what if I don't want to get over it? What if I want to feel hurt or want to feel pain because of the loss that I've experienced? I don't want to be strong in these moments. I want to be weak. I want to feel. I want to cry. And I know that suppressing emotions is never healthy. So why would I want to do that just so that I can appear to be strong, or that I can gloss over the pain? And then trying to grieve and trying to mourn in a healthy way, I remember people that have gone through similar experiences to me. And they reached out to me, and I found that was really helpful. Somehow to know that someone else experienced the same pain really took away that loneliness that comes from suffering. So I remember leading up to meeting my friend, having questions about mourning in a healthy way, or grieving in a way that I don't have to turn to unhealthy solutions. So when we met up, I remember asking him, what do I need to learn from all of this? To give me some answers about how to grieve well, how to live healthy. And I remember him saying I didn't need to learn anything in that moment. That really, I just needed to be present with what was happening. To let the emotions come and not to be too caught up in overanalyzing everything. And that was so helpful for me, coming from someone who understood, someone who knows the pain, someone who has processed similar thoughts, similar experiences before me. I was able to go back to my hometown where this all happened, where I grew up, and I was able to visit the gravestone of my brother and just be in the graveyard. Somehow being there didn't really feel cathartic or nostalgic or anything like that, because no memories were made there. For me, what's been helpful has been visiting places where memories were made with my brother. There's just one Vietnamese restaurant that still looks the same as it was when me and my brother would go there all the time. We get the same thing, the interior's pretty much the same, the food tastes the same. And I love that it hasn't changed over all these years. It brings back memories, this sweetness, this fondness of the past that you can never get back. That day that that place changes owners, or gets torn down would be a really sad day for me. Would feel like a memory is lost. And driving around Calgary, it's always interesting going back after 12 years to see the places that haven't changed over decades. There are a few things that I keep around that remind me of him each day. And they're just around my house, where I have this cross stitch that my wife got made for me by a Calgary artist that has Dr. Dre lyrics on there and his little nickname on the bottom that people used to call him. And another was a bike frame that he had that he would ride all the time, that I had taken off and just put it up on my wall. Something that I never understood before going through all of this was a beatitude that Jesus spoke of, where he said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." As someone who seeks out blessings, want financial gain, want security, I want my plans to go well, I didn't understand how you could be blessed while you are mourning. Because all the other blessings that I seek for myself feel good, but mourning doesn't feel good. Going through this experience and thinking about this beatitude, when you mourn, there's definitely tons of pain, tons of questions, a lot of hurt. And in that space, you have this opportunity to invite God into it. And there's a comfort that comes from God that you cannot experience if you were not mourning, if you were not grieving, if you didn't experience such pain, such loss. If you ever gone through something tough, something difficult, and someone was there for you, those are the people that you know love you. Those are the people that you usually stand by, and that you've seen that, you know what? It cost that person to be with me. It cost that person to love me. And if they're with me in the worst of times, they'll be with me always. So if you recognize that God is there with you through your worst moments, through those times that you've never cried so hard in your life, or when it feels like your heart's been torn to pieces and then stepped on, if you invite him into those moments, your relationship with him will have a depth and intimacy deeper than ever before. So all that to say, I'm still learning, I'm still grieving, I'm still mourning loss, but I hope that my experience can be helpful for you and draw you closer to God, and that you would be comforted and that you would be blessed.